Okay, so let's just make sure that we're live and that you can hear us. It looks like, yeah. All right. Okay, so today what we're going to talk about. Oh my gosh, we have 4 people. Yay! Today what we're going to talk about is how do you know you're in a super soldier or secret space program? And I asked you guys what you wanted, questions you wanted to talk about, questions that we could chat about together. And this came up a couple times in emails, and so I thought instead of just talking about it in emails every single time, that I would put together a small chat video. So I hope you guys join me in this. And yeah, let's get started. So I think the first thing you probably need to know is that I was in the Super Soldier program for many, many years, ever since I was a baby. I was actually born into the program. I haven't really talked about this much, but it's a very long story. I can talk about it now, actually, while we're getting some more people up and ready. So let me just briefly kind of talk about how I found out I was in the program. I'm adopted, and things always were weird for me, right? Like a lot of you starseeds, things are kind of weird. I had a ship that would come check up on me when I was a little kid. And I didn't really think anything of it. I just knew that it kind of felt home when it happened. And so later on, I found documents, and my documents weren't quite filled out correctly. That's not to say that the adoption process wasn't done well, but I have documents that probably should be filled out and they're not. So things were kind of sketchy for me. I just always felt different. I had very odd experiences as a kid. And after putting two and two together and I would watch some of these programs, and it would just hit me so hard. I would have memories coming back, and having to work through those memories. And then I was able to talk to other people who were in the program. And I've decided that there's some really good people that were in those programs that are now not in those programs to talk to. And there's some really bad people. That's probably not the right word. And so I've kind of just broken myself off from everyone. I still have a couple Super Soldier program friends that I talk to. But I just want to help you guys. Like, I know this is a thing and a lot of people are involved in it and they don't know. And it can be very confusing, especially if there's so many weird things in your life that just don't add up. And so let's talk about them a bit. And feel free to ask questions, guys, because that's a really good way that we can talk about this. I came up with a list of like 30 some ways that you guys can tell if you are or are not possibly in a Super Soldier or Secret Space program. And the other thing I want to say about this is that these programs are very closely linked. So any of you who have jumped into this and kind of know whether you are or are not, you probably went down the rabbit hole, and it gets very confusing because Super Soldier program and space program, they're connected. And let me explain how this works. So it's not just our planet that is in this program, okay, in this Super Soldier space program. Now, they're two separate programs, but I just refer to them as the SSP because they're both SSP. But they are actually two separate programs working closely together. And so what happens is that it's not just our planet in the Secret Space program, Super Soldier program. It's other planets as well. And what they do, things have changed a little bit for the Super Soldier program. They used to be able to take kids who didn't have homes, or take kids off the streets, or things like that. And supposedly there's laws now that they're not supposed to be doing that, but I'm sure they probably still are. And then they also follow bloodlines in DNA, and so they know, because this is not normal society we're talking about. This is like all the covert underground programs of like who's really running the world and blah blah blah. So this is like really really deep stuff. But they know your DNA, and so especially if you have family who were in the military or in the army, a lot of times when I talk to those who were in those programs, a lot of times they say, well, they've had family in the military before, and then they've had these really bizarre experiences. And a lot of times those, let's just say the parents or the family previously who were in these programs, their minds are wiped. So it's not like they can even remember being in the program. And so it gets very complicated, and it's all set up around, for the super soldier program, it's all set up around who can test the highest, what abilities lie in the DNA. They talk about how the junk DNA, right? Well, there's a lot more hiding in the DNA, and eventually we'll get there, but they can tell all about what we've done, past experiences, what soul is coming in. And there's even a program to, like if a certain, let's just say the secret space program, right? Like, let's say they need a specific type of individual that has specific characteristics of, like, I'm just going to like randomly make something up, like telekinesis or like super strong or whatever. They can make these in a lab. They can make these in a lab. And so I firmly believe that I was one of those lab babies and I have reasons for it. I'm not going to, hey, I'm glad you could join us. I'm not going to go into it now, but I do have memories of being on a ship, and this ship is actually called. Let's see. I don't know if I should actually be talking about names, but this ship is actually called the Kalandi ship, and it's located underground in California, way underground, and this is one of the ships that they use to design vessels for the souls to come in. And so what happens, a lot of kids who are adopted are usually, not all of them. So like, I want to make this very clear that I'm not saying like, every kid who's ever adopted is like in this program. That's not what I'm saying. But a lot of times kids who are adopted have, in my opinion, a higher chance of being in the program because some of them were just normal kids from normal families, right, who they found and they tested. Others were kids who were actually made and born on the ship. And this is just one of the bases. Now, there's other bases on our planet and off our planet too. So let me explain how the ship works. On that ship, they build you from the ground up. You have a mother and you have a father, but they just take that, they take, the egg and they do all that on the ship, and it's all planned according to the DNA that they want. And so sometimes they'll just like cook you or bake you on the ship in the sacks, kind of like in the movies, right? I mean, this sounds really ridiculous. So I totally get it if you guys are like, dude, this lady's crazy. I get it. Other times they'll actually put you into the mother or a surrogate mother. And then when the time comes, so this is what happened with my real mom. Okay. So like the supposedly the woman who carried me, she was beamed up into one of their ships. So like a lot of the ships that we see aren't necessarily like real galactic ships. They're secret government ships and what else, so she was beamed up into a ship. She had me, and then the story that I got when I dug into this was that I was given an injection of human DNA right away. And then they beamed her down back into her room, and she woke up bleeding and just thought it was a miscarriage. So, hey, I'm so glad you guys could join. So, what do they do with this baby? So the baby then lives on the ship. And they raise the kid until the age of 4 to 6. That's when this kid goes into all this testing, right? So they're training you already from I'm just getting super chills. They're training you already from the beginning. Once you hit ages 4 to 6, they give you like an aptitude test. And this test will determine whether or not you are human enough to join the outside world, right? I know this is crazy. Okay, so if that's the case, if you pass these tests and you are human enough to join the outside world, what happens is that they will regress you, because I have that ability, into a baby, into a child, right? A little baby. They'll put you into the adoption agency, but it's all kind of worked out. So they have, when I was talking about this through a channeler, and they were giving me information, I was like, dude, how does this work with like the adoption agencies? How can they just not like know something's up? So there's actually hybrids. The adoption agency is like filled with hybrids that help get these new kids. So just because like you would be a super soldier, you're not really a super soldier baby at that point. You're just an order that was put in to be made, right? Okay, so even though they kind of have claim to you yet, you still have to prove your aptitude in more than one way, but they still lay claim to you. So it's kind of confusing. So anyway, they put you in the adoption agency. It's all kind of figured out, like what home they want to get you in and stuff like that. So they will check up on you. And so here's the thing: when the ship would like come check up on me as a kid, I always thought that it was like my family, right? Well, I mean, in a sense, it kind of is my family, but it wasn't the family I thought it was. So I did find out like who my human mother was. She's still alive, but I was also told that, now whether this is true or not, I don't know. This is just what I was told. So I was told that if I would go seek her out, she would have no idea. She thought that she had a miscarriage. So it would totally freak her out to be like, whoa, wait a minute, like you actually had a kid, right? And so I've kind of set that on the back burner. It's not important anymore to me. So where are you? So from early on, they let you grow up in the household, and then they check up on you and they give you the needed infusions that you need to like keep you as human as possible, because there's always this chance that your galactic DNA that they put in you, and this is specifically for these programs. I'm not talking about like star seeds coming in, although a lot of these star seed souls, some of these have actually come in this way, because that's one of the only ways that they can get a body that is programmed to their energy. Otherwise, they would wear the body out super fast, if that makes sense. So they come and check up on you and give you the needed DNA infusions, and they watch you. And then as the years pass, I was told like once you hit like 5 or 6 or so, then they take you in. So what that means is that you're sleeping, and a lot of this stuff happens while you're sleeping. Okay, so in both of these programs, as the human sleeping, because it's actually not happening per se in this third dimension. It's happening in the fourth dimension. However, it leaks over into our third dimension, if that makes sense. So, and also the higher the person's vibration is, the more the fourth dimension they're able to access. My hair's like falling out. The more the fourth dimension they are able to access. And so then that means that you'll have more of a bleed through from the super soldier programs. Okay. So if I'm not explaining any of this well, let me know and I will try to re-explain it in a different way. Okay. So what they do then when you hit that age, is that Like normally I was told that they try to wait till around age 9 to like really test you, but for some children who are actually born into the program, it's earlier than that. So it's like 5-6 years. Then they will run the test to see what abilities you have, right? And they already souped you up with abilities to begin with. This is the like the Marvel comic world. This is the I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Umbrella Academy. It's a program going on. This is what this world is, okay? And so they have to see, because your abilities, let's put this out there first. Your abilities are going to be different in the third dimension versus the fourth dimension. So just because you have certain energies and certain abilities doesn't mean that it correlates easily over into a lower dimension. So what they do is they test you, they give you more serums, whatever they need, right? And then they start grooming you. And so I was groomed from little on to be what they wanted me to be. And I've had a lot of jobs. Not all super soldiers fight. Okay. It's a huge, huge program. Yeah, the Umbrella. So Tara T says the Umbrella Academy is really good. It was mostly filmed in her city, which is Hamilton. It's good unless it causes flashbacks, which that's a problem for me. So, okay, so where was I? All right, so they groom you, and they know exactly. So they wanted me for certain things. They wanted me to fight. They wanted me to lead. They also wanted me to be able to use like my history, like my it's just in me, like it's in my DNA. Like I'm a record keeper, right? It's just part of my DNA. So I love history. I love learning about cultures. So I got to use all of that stuff in the program. Now I have other friends who had normal childhood, right? Like they had a mother and a father. They were not adopted, but they're still in the program. And some of them fight, some of them don't. I have a friend who she mostly does ground stuff on bases. She gets transferred to different bases, and she's like the one with the clipboard that are like welcoming new recruits. She's the one who is keeping everybody calm. She's the one who reports to the higher up. So there are so many different jobs that one can have, and you're put where you are most needed, where you are most valuable. So when you fight, okay, so here's part of the super soldier program that interacts with the space program. So when groups need, let's just say, okay, how do I want to say it? So a lot of people think that when you get out in outer space, right, and you can work on different dimensions, so you can see other planets and interact with other groups. I think a lot of us people on Earth think that everybody is happy and there's no fighting and whatever, everybody's so evolved. Well, that's not really how it works. There's going to always be war. There's going to always be war out there. That's just the way it is. So I know one experience I had was there was this planet that this other group came in, and they wanted the resource. They wanted the water on the planet. And this other group was almost going to be wiped out. So yes, it's very, Star Wars also blends in with that as well, definitely. And so what they do is they hire like mercenaries. I mean, mercenaries is probably not the best word to use, but when you're in the super soldier program, the different groups out there can put in a request to hire you to have the super soldier program say, okay, this is what we need, this is what we're fighting, we're going to lose unless we have so and so. When we win, we will not only give you, half the victor, but we will also give you blah blah blah, right? So that's how it's done. So then they send their most best trained recruits, whatever they need, to this planet to fight against the bad guy. So you just go where you're told to go. It's not like It's I don't even know how to explain it. It's not like you have much of a choice. Although, okay, so when you're fighting these wars, and it's not just soldiers that come along. I mean, you need, like, think about the wars here on this planet. Like, you set a base, right? You have people reporting back. So, like, all kinds of crews go, and it's really interesting. My mind just blanked out. Okay, so if you get hurt, this is some of the not so. I mean, the program is not cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's a reason that you have all these Marvel comic movies. You have all of these, the Umbrella Academy, The Boys. I think that's a new one. There's so many of these programs coming out. That is because the Earth Super Soldier program is super low right now. And that's good. I mean, that's the way we need it to be. We need to get you guys out of the program, those of you who are in the programs, and we need to keep them from being able to recruit any more people, which is not an easy thing to do. So, with that being said, if you die in the program, okay, let's just say you die in war with some other planet, unless you rank high enough, sometimes they'll just let you die. If you die there because it's your spirit and sometimes yourself, and we'll get to that in a second, that is attached to the body, you die here. Now, depending on how you rank, they will put you in various machines that can restore you, can regrow limbs, can... I was told I was put in the machine like 3 or 4 times. Okay, so I had a friend in high school that she was a perfectly normal, healthy high school girl, for all I knew, right? I mean, she could have had something wrong, but I wasn't aware of it. A couple friends and I spent one last night over at her house, and then within the next month, her heart exploded and she died. And it was just such a traumatic thing, and it was always in the back of my mind, like, this is not right, something is wrong with this. And I firmly believe that she was in the program and something happened. And is that to say that, like, every weird thing that happens is because of the program? No. Is it meant to say that everybody is in this program? No. When you get tested, they can actually say you're unstable and they don't want you in this program. I know a lot of people who were tested for this program, and for whatever reason, whether they were unstable or whether they weren't allowed to go into the program. So who gets into this program? And how do you get into the program if you're not born into the program? Okay, so what they do is like I said, they know all kinds of stuff about you already. So it's not like they have to dig very far. They have all this information available. Then what they do is they wine and dine you. So you have Alicia Rose was talking about free will. That's the thing with this planet. You have free will, but the problem is when you're jumping into another dimension, it gets kind of confusing. So what they do is they wine and dine you, okay? And they say, wow, you are so amazing. You have all these abilities and we could really use you. And you know what? We have the tools to make your abilities more, to like allow you to save people. You could be saving people. You could be, helping your planet, protecting your planet. And then you can check all this stuff out, like in your astral travels and stuff, you can check all this stuff out. And they're so good that they will make sure that everything lines up that you're checking into. So it seems like it's a cut and dry situation. And it seems harmless. Like, this is great. I'm going to come into this program. I have abilities. I'm a cool person. I'm going to help save the planet. I'm going to also help save others on the planet, on their planets. And the next thing you know, you sign a contract. And so what that means is that by signing a contract, it means that they are allowed to implant you. Okay, so this is part of how they keep you in the program. They put specific implants into you, and that's just part of it. So, okay, so you have the implants, and now you have to go through the testing, and now you're pretty much their property. So, as long as you sign that contract and it's your free will, like, it's hard because you realize they lied to you after you sign this contract, but there's nothing you can do then, and then you're in. So then the next thing you have to do is not sign any more contracts, but you have to remember that this is not necessarily taking place in the 3D, this is taking place in the 4D. So unless you can wire your 3D and 4D brains together to remember not to sign any more contracts, it gets very hard and very difficult. And they're very sly at like swaying your opinion. So, oh yeah, you do have free will to sign the contract or not. That is true. However, they make it very, very hard for you not to sign that contract. And on top of it, so I should say the reason I know this, the reason I know all of this stuff is because I kept very detailed journals. So somehow my brain, my 4D brain and my 3D brain were connected when I was younger. And I was able to code my journals and remember my dreams. And so when I went back after I realized what was going on, and I also had a breakthrough, all the memories, not all of them, but many of them that they tried to suppress came forward. And that was a horrible night. But I was able to go back and then connect the dots and decode what I had coded in my journals. So that's how I know all this stuff. Okay, so once you're in, you're their property. It makes no difference. Free will doesn't really exist per se when you're their property. And the best thing to do then in that case is to do the best you can, because you want to be like, if something happens, you want them to want you enough that they restore you and that they regrow your limbs and whatnot, bring you back. So now here's where it gets complicated. All of this stuff is interwoven with the space program, including clones. Okay, so if you have, depending on what your abilities are, and this is why it's hard for me to justify labeling people here in the 3D, because by labeling people, saying that they're like star seeds, even though I use these terms all the time because it's easier, star seeds, and they have this ability and that ability and that ability, it's just like an open door for them. Like, they don't even have to do the research, you know? So, okay, if you have great qualities, like I have a friend who we're very, very connected. I've talked to him before. I talked about him before. His name's Raul. Okay. And for the longest time, I thought we were twin flames. Totally another story, but it actually kind of combines into this story too. So, he has a lot of great qualities of like leadership. In a lot of past lives, he was army leaders. He has excellent DNA, right? So what they did is they cloned him like 3 times. And one of the reasons that I was tipped onto this is because after all these years of spending time with him, he has like different personalities that he pops into. And it's not drastic. It's not like multiple personality syndrome, but it kind of is. And this is where I don't know if I'm going to explain myself very well. But what happens when they clone you is that they grow you up with a different personality. Okay, so you're like not really that person that you were before. And now if they've done it a couple times, you have like 3 different lives going on in 3 different people. So when they combine you back together into the one person, when they're done with your clones, they can either destroy some of those clones, which help with the original person's thought process, and keeps them kind of on the straight and narrow. Or they can just combine them all together into one body. And now the brain has 3 different lives going on in there. And now they have to try and function in a 3D world. Plus their memories are wiped. Plus they're regressed. So it becomes very, very confusing and difficult. The other thing I want to say about this program is that if you're a hard sell, okay, like if you're like, no, like I totally know what's up, you guys, I totally get it. They will bring in famous people, whether they're clones or not, they will bring in famous people. And these famous people will want to dine you. And they'll say, okay, so like they'll give you a job. And really the job is coming from higher ups. They're just the one delivering it to make it look good, right? How well you do the job is like kind of a pyramid scheme in a way. You get jewelry, you get prizes, and it's this big ceremony. And they like put these diamond necklaces on you. This is ridiculous. I totally know. And the thing is, it's all for show. Like it's just getting you into this program to sign on, because once your contract's done, your contract's done. You don't have to sign on again. But the problem is, it's hard to not sign on again. And so, what are some of the other things? Yeah, and there's a lot. I'm not even going to go into like the very dark, what they used to do in like the 40s and stuff, when they were like, if you think about the Marvel comics, when did these superheroes come out, right? During the war, right? I'm not going to go into the darker aspects of this, but it's there. And so this is part of the problem. Once you it's very important. Like, this is where I'm totally stuck, because I want you guys to be able to understand, and I've got it all listed here in like, we'll just go right down the row after we're done, so it's cut and dry. But as crappy as it is, when you realize that you're in these programs and you're going to have to go through a lot to get to rationalize it, keep your human brain together, and get out of the program. Like, I hate to even bring that forward. And that's why it's something I don't talk about very much on the channel, because it's not like a love and light situation. Now, I've talked to friends who have passed, right, who are also in the program, and he's like, you know, is it doom and gloom? Yeah, a lot of times it is. Like, you're just a soldier, you're just doing what you're supposed to do, and you know, you hope you live for the next battle. But also, he said, don't underestimate the fact that you've saved races. So like, there are races that could have been extinct, you know, if your group or whatever was not there to step in to save them. So there's both good and bad to focus on. Okay, so we talked about the clones. Let's talk about time jumping, okay? Now, this is one of those specific sections in the Super Soldier program and even Secret Space program that is not everybody gets to do time jumping, or it's not. I shouldn't make it seem like cool. Like, not everybody is put on the time jumping program. You have to have the right DNA. You have to understand exactly what's involved with time traveling, time jumping. It's more like time traveling. And it can be very dangerous. So, when you jump, they give you an artifact, right? And there was a program on TV a while ago called Time something, I don't know, but where they went back in time and they were trying to fix things and stuff like that. And that's very much how it works. They give you people. I had one mission once that I wrote about that I didn't even know what was happening, but I wrote it in great detail in my journal. And yes, high five. It's got lemon in too. So where I walked into this woods. I later found out that the woods is over by, I'm pretty sure that the wooded area that I was in was over by Montauk. I think that was pretty much, anyway, walked into this wooded area, and I had something in my hand. I didn't know what it was at the time. And all of a sudden, there was like this big clearing and light. So like the light shot up from under the ground, and it expanded in this circle, and it was like a blue light. And I wrote in my journal that I knew that I had to walk into the light because I was time jumping, and I was pretty sure, this is when I was like in grade school to high school, so I didn't quite know exactly where I was going. I said it was either the 1500s or the 1600s, but that I had a specific person that I had to bring back from that time, and I never wrote about it after that. So obviously I'm still here. So the mission was probably successful. I'm not really sure, but this is the stuff that happens. And if you don't know, the way it was explained to me is you have to be able to read the coordinates of like where you're jumping off in order for it to work, and everything's got to be set up properly, and it can be kind of dangerous. So there is that. And then also there is different timelines for, no, I don't want to say timelines, different mission years for missions. Okay. So you can either do like let's just say you have to go to a meeting. They'll take you out of your body, or they'll even open a portal right next to your bed. I've had that happen before, where they just whisk you out and they'll just regress you and put you back in the 3D right before they took you out. So your 3D body is actually gone. Other than that, they will do the astral. They'll hook you up with astral, and they'll take your astral and put you into a body, put your spirit into the body on the fourth dimension. So what was the question? Are there different types of jumpers? Yes, I'm sure there are different types of jumpers. I would have to talk to some of my other friends, but I'm sure there are. Okay, so you can be gone, either your physical body or it's not really your soul, it's your spirit that would be put into another person. And so you can be gone for a total of like 1 day up to like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. I think it was 50 years was like the tops. Like you cannot, the problem is not you going to a place. Like let's say I was on this mission and I couldn't find this guy, right? So I jumped back to whatever time period, and I had to live there for like 45 years before I could find this guy and get all the technology hooked up and jump back. The problem with that is that when they regress you, they usually have a clone ready. So when you come back, your spirit can be put back in that clone, which then can be put back in your bed. So it's not like you've aged at all. If there is not a clone ready, they have to regress you, which they can do. They also can do, but they can only regress you so much. So like your outside may look young, but your inside is very old. And let me tell you a little story about this. I went to the doctor, to the emergency room one night. I thought I was having appendicitis. They thought I was having appendicitis. I was all hooked up, and then at the last minute, one of the doctors was like, let's get her a CAT scan or whatever, an MRI, make sure like before we open her up and whatever. So I come back, and we're waiting, and it's taking forever, and they finally come in, and they're like, we've looked over your charts and all your other medical records, and like you don't have an appendicitis, or you don't have an appendix. And then we've never really seen this before, but like your aorta is that of like a 70 or 80-year-old. It's like calcified. And they're like, do you know why this could be? I mean, like, I don't think you would, but I'm going to ask. And what are you supposed to say? Oh, yeah, I've been in the Super Soldier program, and I've had to be regressed so many times that like my innards are like that of a 70 or 80-year-old because I can only be regressed so much, right? You can't really say that. So you're just like, I have no idea. I have no idea. So, and they also did other tests on me as well, and the consensus was that my lab results were the best lab results that they have ever seen, so they say, but that when they had like people to come in and like check out my insides, they were not where they were supposed to be, or certain things were missing that like obviously weren't terrible, just that, you know, you can't have kids, but that's a whole nother super soldier story. So you either can age really, really well in the super soldier program as a human, or you can age really, really crappy. And sometimes you're aging really, really well on the outside, and on the inside, you're not aging so well, right? And it could be reversed also, but normally the inside does not regress as well as the outside. And so it's very difficult when you have to go to the doctor because they are not aware of this. And how do you explain this? It's a tough situation. Okay, so let's get into the family thing now. When you are in the program, in the Super Soldier program, Secret Space program, they encourage you to, well, let's back up. You have two sets of DNA in the program, okay? You have what they consider good DNA, and you have what they consider bad DNA. Thank God I was a member of the good DNA, but they kind of made me so they would know if I was good or not. Okay, so the good DNA are encouraged to get together because your missions are very long. I mean, sometimes you're on planets and whatever for a long time. So you're encouraged to find a mate and to have a family. Well, guess who owns the children that you have that you don't realize that they're going to own the children? They own the children. And I've had personal experience with this. So who I thought was my twin, it's a very long story, but we are actually connected. We have a lot of the same soul traits, but the other half, even in the spiritual world, doesn't really consider it a twin. He thinks the whole twin flame thing, which is totally related to the Super Soldier program, is not what everybody thinks it is. So I'm going to explain that. Okay, so the idea in the mass media is that you have this twin flame, okay? And like, he's the other part of your soul, and like, you know, the soul splits and you have the male and the female. And I'm not saying like the soul can't split, you can't have male and female, whatever. But like the way Ramses described it to me is that the twin flame is like yourself. So it would be like you kissing yourself and like you dating yourself. And how fun is that? That's not fun. So in this world, we're led to believe that the twin flame thing is the ultimate thing. But what if I told you guys that it's really, really rare that this happens, and most of the time the twin flame scenarios going on are related to the Super Soldier program? And I'm going to give you a really great example. So when I was in the program, I was love bitten with the person I thought was my twin. Okay, and what that means, that's a program thing, that it's horrid. It's absolutely horrid. I'm going to describe it anyway. So what they do is they pair you together based off DNA. And they put you in situations as they're training you where it's grueling, horrible. There's nobody around except for you two. So you have to rely on each other. Chances are you're not going to make it through the situation. Okay. And so they kill you together numerous times. They bring you back. And then what happens is that they will lay you out when you're dead. They lay you out on the table and they actually replace organs. And they put his organs in you and your organs in him. Okay. They also will do that with like the blood. So like you guys are actually, it makes sense why people are like, oh, it's the twin flame thing. We're connected. You're actually connected. Now you're telepathically connected. You're so connected. You act as one soldier, one being. You can rely on the other person. You know exactly what they're thinking. You don't leave paper trails. So this is one of the things when they put you on spy missions. you don't have paper trails because everything is up here. You can telepathically communicate. The sucky thing is, so for us, we were drowned, and then we were brought back, and it's created havoc. Our relationship in this program has created havoc in my 3D world for my whole life. It is so messed up. I can't even attempt to like talk to you guys about it. But so here's the thing. Not only are we connected then telepathically in this 3D world, but we come with all those. We come with all of those abilities that are supposed to be job abilities, right? We have them for performing jobs. We have them for when we're hired out. But now in the 3D, I know when he's sick. I know what he's thinking. We can be whatever, hours away from each other. If we are continents away from each other, we get sick. Like, it really, really sucks. It's almost like you are such a unit that you have to work together. And what they do then is they put blocks in your 3D world so that you don't get together. Because there is a chance that, especially if you're a very high vibrating being, that you can snap all the switches that they put in you, all of them. I think that story is for another time. I'll tell you guys, but it's going to take forever to tell you. So I'll tell you for another time. They then can remotely flip the switches. So this is where the twin flame idea comes of like, oh, he's the runner. Oh, he's acting really nice, but now I'm the runner. Oh, like we're constantly fighting, but we love each other. We have this, understanding that goes beyond the world or beyond Earth. And well, you do, but it's not quite what you thought it was. And to make matters worse, a lot of times this program, they take beings or people, they take people who already have past life experiences together. So it makes it absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. Now, when you're in the program and you're on these missions together and you hook up, right? Because that's what you are. You're like one unit. Of course you're going to be together. All of a sudden you have children. Okay, so how does this work? So in my 3D, I can only speak about my experiences. I started having dreams of being pregnant. Okay. And I was thinking, well, this is like really not possible. I mean, it could be possible, but it's probably not possible. So I took a pregnancy test. It came out pregnant. I continued having dreams every night where like my daughter was like, I can't come because this isn't my father. Like I was married at the time to a different guy. It was just horrible. So, okay, she's like, I'm leaving after many, many weeks. She's like, I'm leaving. And then I started to have this miscarriage. What I thought was a miscarriage, but it was a silk screen. What they did is they created a silk screen for me to be able to, quote, have a miscarriage per se, and then have them finish it just like I was finished on the ship. So I ended up going to the hospital, and they had to do like an emergency. I don't know. It was very confusing. They were like, this is very strange. There was a baby in the sac, and now there's no baby in the sac, and we got to open you up, and we got to clean you up, whatever. So it's just not very cool. So then we have a total of 3 children, and I had a total of 3 miscarriages in my life. And I was told by the doctor after the first miscarriage that I am never going to be able to have children again. Well, that may be true in like the 3D world, but not necessarily in the 4D world where this all happens. So I did have 2 more miscarriages. Now, the cool thing is my children are awesome. And there's 2 boys and a girl. And they are on Polana. The 2 boys are on Polana. So what happens is they get taken away from you. Which is really traumatic all in itself, right? Especially when these memories come back. They get taken away from you, and then you, from my understanding, it's based on your prestige within the within the program. Okay, you have contracts that you make out as to where these kids are going to go, like where. Otherwise, if you don't have prestige, they will just take the kids and do whatever they want with them. So we have 2 boys that live on Polana, and Polana is a Palladian planet for hybrid children, but they still belong to the Super Soldier program. So they're being schooled, but they will be called back into that program, and that sucks when you realize what you've done. Now the girl was just like me. She was able to test fine and look human, and so she is now she's in the United States, and she's living in Indiana. And I know her age, and but like I'm happy. Like I get updates on her. I'm happy she's happy. Things seem fine. So it's so complicated. It's so hard to, and like some of you guys in the program work at Area 51. You have jobs within the United States, but also off planet. All right, so let's go through this list. If you guys have other questions about, I suppose I didn't really tell you like how I got out of the program and all that stuff, but let's go through the list first. If you have questions, write them down and we can talk about them. Okay, so how do you know that you're either in the Super Soldier or Secret Space program? So I have the list. You're going to identify with more than one. I mean, if you just like, oh yeah, one is like, you're probably not in the program. If you identify with like more than 50% of it, chances are you're in one of the programs, okay? So let's just start there. So number 1, odd medical issues that you shouldn't be having, things that make the doctor's head scratch, okay? We talked about that. Number 2, odd dreams of fighting beings. So I had a dream when I was in grade school, in high school, where it was such a real dream. And these dreams tend to go on for days. So either I would wake up in my human body, go to school, come back, and jump into that same dream that next night, or you would feel like you slept, 15 years in one night because your dreams were so long. So it can go either way. But I had this dream of fighting. They're actually reptilians. Now, not all reptilians are bad, but these ones were. So I was fighting these reptilians, and he scratched me on my hand, and he had 3 claws. So the next morning I woke up, I had 3 claw marks on my hand that were deep enough that I still have scars today. So what had happened there was I had been fighting. This is like an actual thing that was happening. It wasn't a dream. And they had already started the healing process because a lot of times we're injected with stuff to help us heal faster. And that actually works out well because it works in our 3D lives too. So that's like a bonus, I guess. So they had already started healing, but they were deep enough that I still had some blood on them. And I still have scars today. So on this hand. Okay, so number 3, you heal faster than humans, than many other humans. Number 4, you either look very young or you look very old for your age, one of the two. Number 5, we talked about the twin flame scenario. Number 6, we talked about everlasting dreams. So you can wake up and jump back into them like I often did, or you can recall off-planet or wars, bases, training, things that just lasted forever. And they were so real that you would wake up in the morning and you would be affected by them. Like it wasn't just, people would say, well, it's just a dream, whatever, get over it. But like you were emotionally and physically affected by them. You had memories of being on other planets. I actually have memories, check this out. This is going to sound really, really weird. I have memories of being an anthropologist on Mars. That's super crazy. Okay, so you have dreams using psychic abilities. This goes back to the Marvel Comics. This is why Marvel Comics exists, all those superheroes. You have dreams of flying. Okay, you have dreams of like amazing abilities that you can just use this energy, push it out, and like push, crowds of people back, or you can put bubbles of energy around people. You have crazy fighting techniques. All of this stuff that is real. That's not a dream. You have an extra tolerance to certain things. I have extra tolerance to heat and cold. So like when I'm cooking with something, I can, like, let's say I'm making eggs. Even though the pan's really hot, I can like use my finger to like pick the eggs up, and I can put it on the hot pan, and I'm not burned, and it doesn't really hurt. I can feel it, yes, but is it burning? No. So you have extra tolerances to certain things like that. I don't do very well in the cold. I actually, for all the abilities I have that I can take extra heat on my body, I actually, like, if I would walk outside during winter and try and stay out there, my limbs don't do really well in the cold. So it goes both ways. A high pain tolerance. So this is where you go to the doctor and you're like, on the scale of 1 to 10, how bad does it hurt? And you're like, I don't know, it's like a 5. And then after the doctor examines you more, and he's like, should this be a 10? Or, when you are on the playground with kids or your friends or whatever, and then they're like, dude, like that should really, you should really be on the floor. That should have really damaged you, and it really didn't. So what's going on? So high pain tolerance is another one. Again, strange pregnancy, strange miscarriages. Also inner organs rearranged that, doctors don't really understand. Implants. We haven't talked about implants. I have tons and tons of implant stories. Part of your involvement rests on implants. Once those implants are gone and you don't let them implant you again, or they cannot get to you to implant you again, and you do not sign any more contracts, you're out. Also, there is such a thing for retirement too. You can retire out of the program. I mean, obviously, they're not going to keep people like, in their 50s, or like human in their 50s, unless they're still performing some task that's not fighting. It would be like, I don't know, everyday stuff. But there is retirement. And so what happened with me is I had a very fast learning curve as to what was all going on. And I had a lot of help from the other side. I had a lot of help from my real star families, or those galactic beings whom I've had past experiences with in various lifetimes. They all pulled together to help me. I have friends on the other side who are in the program who pulled together to help get me out. All these things, but it was also a quick learning for me, because they could only help me. I had to do it. You know what I mean? Like I had to actually physically, they couldn't help me not sign any more contracts. But one of the things was, after I refused to sign any contracts, I actually went AWOL. And I'm kind of proud of this story, but I'm not really proud of the story. So I don't even know, but I'll just say there. So I went AWOL, and I destroyed the Kalandi ship that I was born on. And it took them months to get the ship up and running. I also destroyed another ship, and I was like, dude, I'm so done with this. And there's nothing you can really do. There's nothing you can really do to me, because I was in a high position, and there was nothing they could do to me. So I was like, dude, I'm done. I'm totally done. So after I went AWOL and destroyed a whole bunch of stuff, they gave me a break for a while. They're like, let's just not bother her. She obviously knows. She knows too much. And then what happened was my memories came back. So it was one night, like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Robot Chicken. This is the only way I can describe it. So in the beginning of Robot Chicken, this chicken is like, has its eyes opened, and it's like got these massive TV screens in front of it, right? And it's just all this stuff happening. So the night that I unlocked all of my memories, that's what it was. I sat up all night long just staring, and it was like screens of memories just playing. It was boom, 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 boom. And everywhere I looked, there was a memory from the program playing in front of me.
And it was terrifying. Not only was it terrifying, it was hard because you have all these emotions, everything that they work so hard to suppress because they don't want your 3D knowing about it, right? They don't want people knowing about this. They're gonna say it doesn't exist. They're using you and then trying to make you a member of society that can actually function in society. Well, if we there's a couple things to that. We can be starseeds and like just be very galactic and have a hard time functioning in society because we just don't get humans. But then also if we're involved in the super soldier program, like you really have to pull yourself together to function the way you're expected to function down here on Earth, let alone when they suppress all of your memories related to something tragic that happened while you were in the program, or and then to have all these memories come flooding back. It was super, super hard. So it took me months and months, and I finally worked through it. And then I was laying in bed one night. Well, actually, let's back up. Then I started talking about this out loud. I started making a few videos. Some of the videos I would tape, there was nothing there. There would be whole sections missing. I would start talking about this, and whole sections would be missing in the videos. And they made it really difficult for me to get any information out. And it terrified me a little because I noticed things. I noticed I was being watched more closely. So even if you're out of the program, you still have to go back every year. You're called back in and you have to go through these tests. And the tests are so they know you're not giving out any information, so they know that your memories are staying put. Okay, so when that doesn't happen, what do? Well, because of the rank, that's why I'm doing it live. So hopefully, because of the rank, I know a lot of classified information, right? So I was talking to my friend who passed over, and he's like, as long as you don't give out the classified information, you should be okay. Well, I started giving out classified information. So that was part of the problem. So then I went to bed that night, and I woke up in the morning, and I had never had vertigo in my life. But I knew, because I felt them at night take me out, and what they did is they actually went into the brain and attempted to regress those memories, to get those memories out so I couldn't access what I had opened. And they did such a shoddy job of it that I actually still have it. I don't know if you can see it, what side it's on. But I have a scar that goes all the way down here. And then I woke up with vertigo. And the vertigo was so bad that I didn't really know what to do because I had never had it before, but I knew exactly why. I knew why I had it. And I ended up going to the hospital. And the nurse was really weird about it because I was telling her, I was trying to get as much information out as I could because they were hooking me up to like morphine or whatever. I don't even know what I was all hooked up to. But I said, I have this metallic taste in my mouth. I woke up with this metallic taste in my mouth. And because I'm good at reading people, she was so lying to me. I forgot what she had told me, but it was so obvious. Like in her eyes, the way she was moving, the way her face and her mouth moved, she was so lying to me about what that metallic taste was. And maybe she honestly didn't know, but I think she knows because that's how good they are. They can get clones. They can get their people into the operating room of a normal hospital. Like they can pull a moment out of time and like do what they need to do. And so this is one of the reasons that people who've come out to talk about this program. Now, there's two people. There's two types of people. There's the sincere people, like who know that they're taking a risk doing it, and then there's the people that the actual Super Soldier program has put up to the task to like lead them astray. So you have to use your intuition and your knowing to know exactly what side everybody's on, and it gets very confusing. So when it resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, just don't even think about it. So after that took a really long time for me to heal from, and then I had a galactic scan done, and I had still been getting horrible like headaches from it, and they said that there was actually a chip that was that the galactic scan found that there was a chip embedded in that area that was partially malfunctioning. So I think what happened was they were trying to work fast because they knew that I'm all connected. So I could wake up at any minute, and then then what are they going to do? Then it would just be probably more horrible for everybody involved. So the job was never done properly, and it was actually causing issues in my brain with headaches and dizziness and stuff like that. So it's fixed now. So that was a big deal. And then months later, I'm laying in bed and I hear this ship. So now, like, once you, I know I sound like I'm a crazy woman. So once you learn like what different ship sounds like, that makes sense. You'll recognize it. So I recognized the same ship coming, and I knew they were scanning me because I could feel it and I could hear the scan happening. Now, when legit beings, galactic beings, scan you, their stuff is so high tech that you don't even feel it. And so I was really concerned because I wasn't sure what was going on, why it was such a low tech scan happening. And when I asked about it, I was told that it was the Super Soldier program coming in to see if there was anything that they could attach to yet for me. So what they're talking about is that they were hoping they left any little traces of any of their implants or any of their pieces of technology inside. So if they could hook onto that, then they could force me into, because they own me, right? Not anymore, but they owned me. So it's not like I had to sign a contract per se. Like, I would have to sign the contract, but they could just make your life a living hell until you like go into it, because I was like a ticket that was born in whatever. Okay. So, all right. So now, once the implants are out, and so what I was told was that was one of their ships, right? That was one of their ships that came in, and their ship's not super high technology. Like, everybody thinks, well, Super Soldier program should be super high technology. Well, it is compared to our technology, but it's not compared to some other beings' technology. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. So let's move on. Memories of being on other planets, obviously, right? Dreams of using psychic abilities. We kind of talked about that. UFO encounters. So here's another one. I hear a lot of people saying that they were abducted and had UFO encounters and that they were operated on and blah, blah, blah. This is a tricky slope because this stuff stopped. This stuff stopped in the late 80s-ish. No, probably like, well, around the late 80s, right? And that's a whole nother galactic history story. We could go into that at a later date if you want. But the people who are being abducted now, who say, oh, I've had a lifetime of like these aliens coming into my room and, whatever, doing stuff, whatever. That's not aliens like people think. That is the Super Soldier program. They will disguise themselves because there's aliens. Okay, so there is other galactic beings in this Super Soldier program. So it's not just humans, okay? It's every sort of being you can possibly imagine that gets suckered into the program too. And they will use that to make you think that you were abducted by aliens when really it's the Super Soldier program abducting you. So if you watch Super Soldier or Secret Space stuff on YouTube and you get I get chills when I get confirmations. That's just one way of my body telling me that, I resonate with it. You get your own confirmations. So I had a really hard time watching them at first. Like, I was drawn to watch them because I think my higher self wanted me to like realize this and get out as soon as I could, but I just wasn't ready. I would start watching them and I would just feel sick, and I just couldn't watch them for a while. So, and not, like I said, not all of them are, I wouldn't trust all of them. Like I started going into super soldier groups on Facebook, and a lot of them are secret, and you have to know somebody. You have to know like a quote, like higher up human person who is in the space program to get into those groups. And I'm not saying all of them are bad. I'm just saying for me, my flags went up because there were some of the groups that I was in and they were asking me, what memories do I have? There would be no reason in hell I would want to tell what memories I actually have, because we've already talked about this. When you start telling people what memories you have, now, now they have a direct link, and everybody, like, you clicked these things, right? So like they wanted to know what memories, and you clicked the thing. And so it's just perfect for them to be like, oh, so-and-so clicked this. So we know we have to go back to them and we have to get inside their brain and we have to, make sure that they don't remember this. And so I just didn't feel very safe in them. And you have to really have a place where you feel safe, I think. And the thing is, I'm comfortable talking about it to some extent now, because I'm standing in my power so much that there's nothing that they can do. There's nothing that they can do. If they want to like pick me off, I mean, I'm just going to end up coming back anyway. And in the end, it's not going to really help them, because then everybody will know why I was picked off, right? So it's a lose-lose for them. It's a lose-lose. So it doesn't matter. Okay. Number 15, if you're being drawn to videos like the Black Ops video, the MyLab, I mean, this is stuff we haven't talked about. MyLab. This is totally connected into the programs. MyLab is one of the programs where they inject you with stuff and they try stuff on you. And this goes back to World War II. And here, dreams of famous people giving you rewards like necklaces or jewels. Dead giveaway. If you feel like you're constantly being watched or checked up on, but no one is around. So this is not necessarily super soldier program stuff. It could be family, it could be family on the other side. It could be your galactic friends. But I knew that there was a difference between like, when I was little, Beethoven used to sit on my piano bench and like yell at me for like my piano mistakes and stuff. There's a difference between being watched like that and knowing that every year you have to go check in on this other dimensional plane, and knowing that they have technology that is listening to you. Like, I don't want to make this a fear thing, but like, you just know. Yes, thank you. You're able to feel the difference and you just know who. So I want to put that out there. Not everybody, not the idea of being watched is like bad. Okay. You have to differentiate the energy. And in order to do that, this is where, when I say like I was on a fast track to understanding this all, not only did I have to become solid in who I was, which obviously is always a work in progress, but I had to be sure in myself that I could differentiate the energies. I had to be sure that what I was seeing as my memories are being unlocked, that I could feel that I actually experienced that. There's a difference between, as even a slight difference, but there's a difference between, somebody not necessarily experience them or having a dream because they watched these things but not really being in the program, versus like somebody who has. It's a different energy feeling, and you just have to learn what that is. Okay, so number 18, missing time. So this is so important, because once you add up all the jumps that you've made or all the missions, the 15 and back, the 50 and back, you realize that things in your journals, my journals didn't add up. So like, when I met my best friend, Raul, we've talked about him, I wrote in my journal that I had known him for 5 years prior. And it was a constant mistake that I would make. And one of the reasons that I made that was because I had actually known him for longer in the program, but it was 5 years prior to meeting him that we were actually love bit. So when you miss time in your journal entries, take note of that. Or sometimes like when you wake up, or you could just be sitting here and then all of a sudden be like, whoa, what the hell? But also that could also just be your higher vibration too, where time is going faster. So you're exhausted in your daytime and your nighttime seems forever. Again, that's like a loaded question. But when it's related to super soldier stuff, you'll just feel it. You have multiple personalities. Okay, so thank God my multiple personalities were actually destroyed when they put me back. But my friend Raul, his were not. And so, not that he's crazy. He's not crazy. He's absolutely brilliant. But you can tell he will just switch just a little bit. And it's not even his voice change. It's very hard to explain. But multiple personalities, and I'm sure that there's levels of like how bad it could get as well. If you feel like you can or have jumped time, but you don't know why, we've talked about that in my journal dates. Dreams of flying and telekinesis abilities, we've kind of talked about that. And then your VR experience. So those of you who have a VR or who have tried a VR experience, the ones when you put your phone in the thing don't really count, because those are a little different. But if you have an actual VR, have access to one, there's some programs in there where like you are doing space stuff, right? I had never been in a VR before, and I thought I was going to be really, really sick when I first got into one. And I realized I could do all the roller coaster rides. I could do all of this crazy stuff and not get sick. And then after I had the memories unlocked, they train you using VR. Sometimes they train you using VR. So if you are like super awesome in your VR and you don't have any, ill effects from it, and sometimes it actually triggers memories, like mine triggered memories of what they were, how they were training us using virtual reality. And then, of course, opening up locked memories, day-to-day experiences. So this is how my memory of drowning was opened. It's not pretty. So my dad, and like I had really good adopted parents. So we were just goofing around one day. We have a cottage, and I'm a really, really good swimmer. I'm a very, very strong swimmer. He was holding me underwater just as a joke. Like it wasn't anything bad. But what happened was it unlocked the memory of me drowning. And so I was reliving that while being held under the water. And normally it wouldn't be a big deal. Like I can hold my breath. It's not a big deal. But the flashbacks of the movie playing right in front of me while I was like being held underwater was just almost too much. I was still in high school when that happened. So I didn't quite know what it was, although it felt very real, and I actually thought I was drowning. Obviously, I wasn't, but I had drowned. And so things like that will unlock memories. And then I keep really good documentation of things. So years later, when I understood how everything was working, that's when I was able to go back to it and realize what happened. So, okay, so I have a friend or two who were telling me how their childhood was spent at Montauk. And if you guys know what Montauk is, we're not going to really go into it. But they lived close to it, and they remember having family involved in it, and they would like camp on the grounds of it. And, hang on. And this one of the friends who her family has always been in the military, my other friend's family is in the military as well. Her now husband acts very strange as well. And so these are things like the memory is wiped. There's so many, it's hard to recall things when they do such a good job of taking them away from you. Okay. We're almost done here. So the idea of comic heroes, in fact, I didn't know any of this. I'm not a comic person. I never even like watched the new movies coming out. Like I did watch the Thor movie, but who hasn't watched the Thor movie? But like as far as all the other comic movies coming out, wasn't really my thing. I woke up one morning and I was telling my husband all about Agent Carter because I was in a class at night that was talking about Agent Carter, who was one of the founding. I don't even know. I don't even remember. I try to like push all this stuff away. But the class that I was attending, like we learned all about her. We learned about how she was involved in the program, how she's like the mother of us all, like all this really weird stuff. And I was telling my husband, and my husband was like totally shocked because he knew that I didn't even know that like Agent Carter was like an actual comic person thing. So yeah, knowing things that you really wouldn't know otherwise. We talked about like being adopted with odd things happening and the ships, and then also TV and movies. The Umbrella Academy, big one. That has Super Soldier Program written all over it. And then The Boys, that's like, I don't know. It's kind of a kitschy take on it. It's not like we all fly around in capes and stuff like that, you know. But so that's my list. And I know it's been like a really long video. So if you guys have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them if I can answer them. This has been just a rough going over of things. So hopefully you can start tracking your feelings and such. And I really hope that none of you are involved in these programs. And if they come to you and ask you if you want to be in the program, you just tell them no. So I'm going to hang out for a little bit. See, I know there's only like 4 watching now, but the important part we talked about. So let me know if you guys have questions and I will answer them. Otherwise, we'll call it a night. Thank you guys so much for joining. I never know what to expect. I don't go live very much. I was going to start with a blessing. I was going to start with a blessing first, and then I just started right in. So let's give a blessing now. And I want to send all of you guys love and light. And I don't want this to push you guys down in any way. I just think it's important to get it out there because this is something that's not talked about. Good news is, though, that this program is falling apart. Slowly but surely, it is falling apart, at least here on this planet, because they're having problems getting recruits, and that's a very good thing. So I want to send blessings to you guys and positive, uplifting moods. That if you guys actually discover that this is something that you think you're involved in, feel free to shoot me an email. You can, on Your Temple Beautiful on Facebook is a good way to get a hold of me. And, I'll try and help you the best I can through it. So, Busha Basu Unta Yakutu Lupatia Koka Anata Unupita Uta Shanalia Zukupa Tana at the Kujan Kyotopatiako Kala Ant Anatona Yashot put Anak Ala to Urshupa the Kanak Tanak Anakulo the Tiasanatiasha Kona Yalata the Anak Daya Takiato Tayako Anatiato Shukutu de la Bata Nasiata Lakata Piascata Niasata Piashana Tahana Bashakuto Pasa Tatiata. Mosha Tiasaka Aloto Triakota Bocatania Sutupatia Shukutayana Latia Cupatia Kunadiato Junka Papia Akala Hutu. When my Yajotka not to Kianata Pasatiata la Hanasatapia, Pashanatea, Sonamia Latapa, the Coop Piapo, Shanatokutata, Nasatiata Kala Otatia, Kunata Percanutu to Patia to Cook, Niapona la Atacania to Utukutatiata Kalashata, Niazanakatuta, Kanatu, Piacandala Ataska, Takano to Piajankatu, Piano Jota, Pamasalata. Nahala asaniya sononami ojokupanayama balahasa. Namaste. Blessings to you guys. Yeah, that's fine. If you want to send them to me, I think you know how to get a hold of me. Your Temple Beautiful at Facebook, and I can totally understand if you would rather feel like not everybody should know because it's yeah. Okay, so there's only 3 people watching, but I'm so glad you guys stuck it out till the end. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Much love to you, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.